Hey, it's Tess. Today I'm going to continue out of this book called U Squared. And it's kind of funny because I've been working on something and I thought I need to break right now and go do this because if I don't, I'm going to get absorbed in something and I'll lose track of time. But the funny part is that the 2 pages in this book, U Squared, which talks about quantum leaps, it's talking about really basically getting out of your own way. And I know they say quantum leaps and those words may scare people, but I almost think it's the same thing as 10x or just take larger steps or move faster, adjust faster. And I think a lot of what this idea of quantum leaps or U squared is all the same thing. No matter what you label it, however it motivates you, you got to pick the one that works for you. And today's is get uncomfortable. And this is kind of speaking to me tonight. And it's speaking to me because I've been absorbed rewriting my speech. I worked with Dan Clark a couple of years ago and I wrote a keynote speech, but I wasn't involved with the infinite banking process. I didn't write a book. I wasn't a life insurance agent. So there's a lot of things that have happened to me since that point in time. And today I feel like I'm on a roll. You know, like I've probably gotten through about 2/3 of the speech. Does that mean I won't redo it a little bit here and there as I practice it and get comfortable with it? No, I'll make adjustments. But what I realized is that it's not so painful anymore. I can remember that when I took the class, and it was a college, Dan Clark is a professional speaking coach. He worked under Zig Ziglar. He actually is the youngest man admitted into the Hall of Fame the Speakers Hall of Fame. And he was my mentor and my coach, and I worked with him for 4 years to write my original keynote speech. And no, nobody heard it because I never got on the stage. But now that my life has changed and I've wrote a book and I'm working with the infinite banking process, and that is where I want to help people with their life, I need to adjust that speech. So I've been working on it. And why is that important to this getting uncomfortable? Because all of a sudden today I'm like, this isn't uncomfortable anymore. I mean, yes, there's ways I can improve and I'll continue to improve, but it doesn't hurt as bad as it did in the beginning. And I'll tell you, it was painful in the beginning. One, the idea of putting yourself out there, that was painful to me. Even the idea of my book, one of my best friends actually helped me with the editing because talk about timing. I'm going to say it's God's intervention, but she was in a class about publishing at the time that I was writing my book. So my book became what she was using as she went through the class. So we worked together to get that out in the timeline. I was off a little bit on the timeline, but the book is out. But I can remember that even when I was working on the book, it wasn't quite as painful because the skills that I learned from Dan Clark, he put together a college level course that he taught in Utah and probably Arizona, I would guess. But he taught college level professional speaking, and he always talked about books. And I learned the skills. So I know, like he said, people don't want to listen to you till they know you know what you're talking about or that you have experience with what you're speaking on. So there's like certain formulas that, he kind of gave. You want to tell people like, what is it that happened to you that made you understand this? What kind of research facts? So there's things that he taught that I utilize with my book, and I'm also utilizing in the speech, and I can kind of see the patterns when I'm going through and updating the speech. And it just made me realize that it was so painful in the beginning, and I spent we started in late December, and we had class for 16 weeks. So I had a 16-week weekly meeting with Dan Clark working on this speech. And I'll tell you, there was only 1 or 2 of us that ever even finished that keynote speech. But I did finish it, and now it's like it's outdated, so I need to update it. But that said, this idea that all of a sudden I'm kind of excited. Like before it was painful to write it. Now I'm like, oh, there's a flow. I can understand it because in the book I did the same flow. The idea is, why are you going to listen to me unless I can show you that I've experienced what I'm talking about? How do I support that? What kind of research have I done on it? What can I say that makes what I've experienced meaningful to you? Because it isn't about me. It's about what I can share and how I can help you. And it is kind of interesting because, boy, I'll tell you, it was really uncomfortable 2 years ago, horribly uncomfortable. And even now, I will tell you, when I pass this book along to my friend to edit it, she should have been born in New York because she's as direct as my people in New York are. And I knew if she did not like it, she would let me have it right out of the gate. Feelings or no feelings, she would have told me. So I'll tell you, I was extremely nervous giving her that book. And when she came back and was so excited about the book and so wanted to be a part of it, it told me that I was in the right direction. But I honestly think the only reason is because I was working with Dan and I gained some skills in how to present the things that touched me and helped me to change my life. So it created a need to get uncomfortable. But now, 2 years later, and a book later, and a first keynote speech, now working on the second, I understand it now. And I think that's what we all have to do, is realize that the things that we're going to experience in life are going to be things that are uncomfortable at first and that we'll move forward with later down the road. So the idea of getting uncomfortable. Quantum leaps jerk you out of your comfort zone. And I'll say I've probably been jerked out of my comfort zone more in the past 7 or 8 years than I was in my entire life. But I wish I'd done it sooner. Just like I wish I'd learned the infinite banking process sooner. Just like I wish I'd wrote a book sooner. I can't say that I wouldn't keep going further in both of those because they've changed my life. And if they can change other people's lives, I want to keep moving with it. So getting uncomfortable. Yeah, it doesn't feel good at first. But when you get to that point where you look back and you're like, look where I'm at right now. Look at what I can do that I couldn't do before. So know that a quantum leap or a 10 times jump or just keep moving, don't slow down, adjust faster, keep moving, the time is now, all of that, just prepare yourself because it's a pretty wild ride. And if I look back on the past few years, I've had some pretty wild rides, including physically wild rides. My zipline episode where I got stuck on that. And, I was so embarrassed about that. But at the end of the day, I was able to get myself to the end of that zip line, which the guide at the end told me very few do. Most end up getting rescued. And I did it with guidance from below. I needed guidance. We all need guidance and mentors and coaches, but I was able to get to the end with a hand up from somebody that was close by and knew the skills that I was lacking at the time. So prepare for that wild ride because when you get to look back on it, it's pretty freaking amazing. I know that like when I was certifying to scuba dive and they told me I wasn't going to make it and I started swimming lots and lots and lots of laps and I passed it. That was so awesome to me. The 300-mile bicycle ride for Make-A-Wish, I was praying every day, please God hold my hand to get me across that finish line because it was 7 hours on a bicycle. It was a lot, but I got through it. And I love pushing those boundaries. I love knowing that I can do things that I thought I never could do. And I don't want to stop doing that. And if you have that desire, I don't want you to stop either. So prepare for a pretty wild ride. You're going to cover some unfamiliar terrain and encounter obstacles that you've never faced before. It can feel like the safety chain linking you with behaviors and patterns that worked in the past is being stretched to the limit. And I'll tell you, stretched to the limit and in some case broken. But that's okay because broken gives you an opportunity to build it and to create it better. At times you may wonder if the situation is about to spin out of control. And controlled spins. I often talk about my dad. It was a big one that when we lived in the north, he would send us over to a school parking lot and we would do donuts and he'd critique it. Everyone goes, your dad's cool. I'm like, yeah, no. When you're 16 years old and your dad's critiquing your donuts in the school parking lot, it's not so cool. But now it's a funny story because every winter we'd go over there. But he had a good point. It required getting uncomfortable because, as he always told us, if you can't instinctively know how to turn that car, if it hits a patch of ice, it's too late. There's no time to think about which way to turn. Instinct has to kick in and you have to know how to react. So it required getting uncomfortable until I learned a habit. Just like it required getting uncomfortable to do that first speech with Dan. But then I was not quite as uncomfortable. I was still uncomfortable when I wrote the book. But now tonight I'm like, oh, it's clicking. It's clicking. Now, I'm going to have to keep reworking it. And if you happen to watch me on stage one day, you can tell me if it's not the greatest, but I have the skills to keep making it better. And that's the beautiful thing. I had to get uncomfortable to learn some skills so that I could become comfortable to try to share my experiences with you. The normal reaction is to want to hold on tightly. And even that, like I said, driving a car in the ice, you have to know how to turn. You can't hold on to what you think it is. You got to be able to instinctively take action. But you're going to have to learn to let go in order to achieve U-squared or quantum leaps. That's the only way to reach those new levels is through release. So turn loose, and if you want to jump, turn loose if you want to jump. Don't be surprised if you grow unsteady. It's a predictable part of the process. And I'll say that every single step I've taken has been uncomfortable. Even walking, because I walk 15,000 steps a day, and I don't post it anymore, so I should probably start doing that. But my mom and I walk every morning, and we tried it. There was a period in time where my mom didn't want to get up early, and we actually tried to not get up early and walk. And what happened is there was always negotiations. Well, you know, I think I should go to the store with your dad. Well, you know, I think this, I think that. And if some of my mom's cousins watch this, please know this is most loving thing in the world. But my mom always says to me, you know, I think I'm the oldest of all my cousins, and I can get up and walk at 5 a.m. And I don't know if they could. And I'm like, oh, Mom. But, you know, she feels good. She feels good because she's active. And she'll always tell me that she is afraid of, because she's been walking with me in the morning now for probably about 2.5, 3 years, if not longer. And she says that part of her is afraid to wonder where she'd be at if she hadn't have battled that not wanting to get out of bed. And I'm telling you, when it's cold and we're wearing lights and we're wearing reflective gear and she's all bundled up, she still gets up and does it. There's a few times, like if it's wet and rainy or icy, she won't, but for the most part, always. So you're going to have to get uncomfortable, but then you'll find a time to get comfortable. Like right now, she's loving, you know, that, and I love this time too, when you start to see the sunrises, you know, because it's staying light longer, and an early morning walk, it's going backwards, so I'm seeing the sunrise. But being uncomfortable means there's growth, and when there's growth, that's a good sign. If you're experiencing no anxiety or discomfort, the risk you're taking is that you're probably not moving forward. And if you don't want to move forward, then maybe that's the place you want to be. But I want to know that I'm accomplishing and helping people and serving and moving forward in the best possible way. I always say that when I'm called home, I want to be sliding in, high-fiving God, and him saying, you may have been a late starter, but nicely done. I don't want to miss opportunities. I think earlier in my life with things that happened, I missed opportunities, and I don't want to miss them now. So remember, if you're not experiencing anxiety and discomfort, you're not moving forward. You're stuck. You're stuck in an idle pattern. And if that's where you want to be, that's okay. But no anxiety, no discomfort, there's no risk, and you're not moving forward. The only risks that aren't a little scary are the ones that you've outgrown. A high comfort level provides solid evidence that you're playing it safe. So, I mean, that is painful, but if you're not dealing with anxiety and discomfort, you're playing it safe. And that's the decision you have to make. Is your life about playing it safe, or are you here to achieve something bigger and better? Are you wanting to grow or not grow? Are you, what do they call it, a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Are you testing your limits? Are you in the process of a quantum leap? You might be making gradual progress. That's possible, but you're not going to make a breakthrough. And that's what you have to decide. Do you want that breakthrough? Because that breakthrough means there's some discomfort and there's some anxiety. U squared, quantum leaps, 10xing, whatever you want to call it, the time is now, carries you beyond your common place, everyday habits, and calls for a little more nerve. And I will tell you, I've done some crazy things and it required a lot of nerve. But I also learned when I was younger, I had to commit to things early, because if I gave myself time, I would negotiate out of it. I've talked about that when I went to masterminds. I signed up for 3 and just did it on the spot because I knew if I gave myself time, I'd talk myself out of it. I knew when the bicycle ride, when somebody approached me about it, the 300-mile bike ride, and I didn't even own a bike, a road bike, because you had to ride road bikes because we did it on the roads. I committed to it right then and there because I'm like, I'll figure the rest out later. I just got to commit, because if I gave myself time to negotiate, I'd negotiate myself right out of it. So just go into this expecting a touch of anxiety, a touch of discomfort. Uneasiness is a predictable psychological reaction when a quantum leap is underway. It has been said that if you will do the thing you fear, death is certain. Death of fear is certain, sorry. Oh. It has been said that if you will do the thing that you fear, the death of fear will be certain. Sorry, that came out wrong. Courage is not the absence of fear and anxiety. It's preceding proceeding in spite of those feelings. So press on. And I'll say that's true because there have been many times in my life that I had to press on. And it even went back to medical stuff. I had to press on. There were times, you know, I've told the story before that I had so much anemia that my blood count, my oxygen in my bloodstream was 50% of the normal. Nobody in the work environment could ever tell because you couldn't see what was inside the body. You only knew what was going on the outside. And it was hard because my employers didn't understand. And there were literally times when I would be so exhausted because I had no oxygen going through my bloodstream. This probably wasn't smart, but this is what I would do is I'd go up and down the stairs because something about up and down the stairs got me away from the desk because sitting at the desk made me want to sleep. So it was really hard. It was really tough. I can remember my doctor would be so fed up because there wasn't a lot of compassion in the work environment because they couldn't see what I was going through. They didn't know there was a medical condition. And when I finally mastered it, and what happened is they ended up finding, they did an exploratory surgery and found 3-stage 4 growths. They weren't cancers, but I had an emergency surgery, and when I woke up, they were gone. It was something I didn't know until I woke up. But what the doctor told me when that got all settled and out is she said, I had been contemplating for about 3 to 4 years medically retiring you, but I knew that you had a spark and a fire, and if I took away the things that you were pushing forward on life, I was afraid that you would give up on life. And at the time, I was kind of mad at her. And now I'm actually going to buy one of my books and give it to her because she actually helped me in more ways than I ever knew by not giving me the paths to give up. She made me push through some pretty tough times, and I'll always be grateful to her. She's not local here anymore. She's probably an hour or 2 hours away from here, about 2 hours from here, but I can get a book to her just to say thank you because she told me it was a hard decision, but it was probably the best gift that she could have given me because sometimes we have to have a little bit of anxiety. We have to get uncomfortable if we're going to push through to new levels. I do want to say again, if anybody wants my book, run with it and let me know what you think. And then if anyone wants to learn more about this infinite banking, I'm happy to help you. It changed my life. I have 3 policies myself now, and it was the greatest gift that I gave myself. Stay tuned, and when I do get to a point where I'm speaking, I'll let you know, and you can come and visit me and find out what it is that I'm working on tonight that I'm actually excited about because it's smoother now. The skills that I've been practicing for the past 2 years seem to be coming together in a better way. And I think that's what I want to say to all you guys. If you want more out of life, get uncomfortable. Know there's going to be some anxiety, but also know that that means you're pushing towards a quantum leap, a 10x leap. The time is now, finding anything that you want to keep pushing forward. If you want more, it's going to mean that you have to give more. But I know what the rewards are, and I want that for you if that's what you want. So create magic and enjoy every minute of your life. And if you want, let's all at the same time, or whenever our time is, slide in, high five God, and have him tell us that it was a job well done. I can't think of anything better than that. And that would be my wish for you, if that is something that you desire. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your guys' support more than you'll ever know. It's been 3 or 4 years, and a lot of you are still here with me, and my videos are getting 100 to 200 views a day, so thank you. That means so much to me that you guys will take some of your time and listen to what I have to say, and I'm grateful to you all. Thank you, and have a great night.